That says recording.
Wonderful, thank you. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Nicola Taylor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at ScotlandIS. If you don't know who ScotlandIS are, we are a trade body and cluster management organisation for the digital tech sector here in Scotland. Before we get started, I just want to take the opportunity to let you know about a couple of events that we have got coming up. So tickets and tables are currently available for our Digital Tech Awards, which take place on the 19th of March at the Radisson Blu in Glasgow. And currently we also have early bird ticket rates available for our annual ScotSoft and Young Software Engineer of the Year Awards, which take place on the 24th of September at the EICC in Edinburgh. Anywho, on to the matter at hand. So, a little over a year ago, we launched our series of ScotlandIS Tech Tidbits, which take place on the first Tuesday of every month. These sessions last 30 minutes and are designed to educate you on areas that you might want to know more about, encourage you to innovate with your newfound knowledge, and potentially collaborate with the hosts. These sessions are recorded, and I would ask that you keep your cameras and your mics off, and I would also ask that you facilitate any of the questions into the chat function, and I will ask those for you at the end of the session. So on important occasions like Cyber Scotland Week, we run extra sessions, and today I am delighted to be joined by Parvin Kaur from Kids and Clicks. Parvin is going to chat to us about all things TikTok. So I fully appreciate that nobody is here to listen to me speaking today. So without further ado, over to you, Parvin.
Thank you so much for that, Nicola. So I'm just going to jump straight in because there's lots of things that we're going to be uncovering today. But before we go into TikTok, I want to just keep you updated in terms of what's been latest in our children's online world. And then we'll look into TikTok and then some easy steps you can take today to protect yourself and your children when they are surfing online. So let's just get started with what's been happening in the online world. So let's start with Grok. Basically, you probably all would have seen this news already. Now, if you have just a little summary, Grok is an AI chatbot that is basically linked to X. And recently, it has been criticized for how easily it can basically create deepfake sexual images. And they look really realistic and can be shared widely before anyone even has a chance to stop them. So the UK government has stepped in because this kind of content can cause real harm. Now, parents, this is important to understand because it's no longer just about children sharing photos, but it's about AI that can generate or alter images without someone's permission, meaning anyone can be targeted, including yourself or your children. Next up is the Online Safety Act. Now, I'm sure you have even heard about a lot about this recently in the news. So, just a brief summary. The Online Safety Act is a new UK law which is designed to keep the internet or make the internet safer for children. So, in simple terms, it basically means that platforms must stop showing children harmful content, including porn and self-harm, bullying, hate, and extreme violence and those type of content. And some sites are required to use proper age check, especially adult websites. Now, social media apps must change their algorithms so they do not push harmful content. There are other things as well that is included in the Online Safety Act. So, for example, cyber flashing has now been made illegal. AI deepfake porn has now been also made illegal, along with tougher action for anyone who produces content relating to terrorism, violent content, child abuse, and so on. How well has it been working? Now, so just a little bit of context, all of this come in fact last year in April. So almost a year on. Let's see what's been happening. So the first thing when the Online Safety Act came in place is that VPN usage have gone up because people want to bypass age restriction or don't want to put in their ID to access websites. But the good news is that new data basically is showing that fewer people in the UK are now visiting major pornography websites since stronger age checks were introduced. So one of the largest sites like Pornhub lost over 1 million UK visitors in just 2 weeks, according to analytic firms SimilarWeb. But now, how well is Ofcom actually imposing fines? So let's take a look at the example of 4chan. So in case you don't know, 4chan is an anonymous forum that is based in the US. Think of it a little bit like Reddit, very, very similar. But it is known for extreme content, including materials that is not safe for children. Now, Ofcom has basically asked 4chan to explain how it protects UK users under the Online Safety Act. 4chan ignored the request. So Ofcom issued them with a fine. Now, 4chan's response was to say that UK law does not apply to them because they are a US-based company, and that these kind of rules applies to censorship and freedom of speech and so on. So they said that they will not cooperate. Now, this basically shows a real gap. So even when rules exist, tech companies don't always comply and enforcement can always be very slow. So for now, parents and schools, you still have to step up because we can't rely on the government alone to do this job for us. A lot of you would have seen, the new current debate on, whether we should ban social media or not. Ofcom have just issued another fine for another company as well. We'll have to wait and see how all of that plays out. But in the meantime, we all have a role to play in terms of protecting our children online. On to the next latest trend before we just go into TikTok. AI chatbots. Now, many of you would have probably, heard about all of this. Now, AI chatbots, they are not like AI assistants that answer questions or do tasks. AI companions or digital characters, they are designed to basically have meaningful conversations with their users that feel rather personal. Now, 72% of teens have used AI companions and 52% of them are regular users. 33% of teens have used AI companions for social interaction and relationship, and 31% of teens feel that the conversation with an AI chatbot to be satisfying or even more satisfying than human conversation. The two most popular AI chatbots right now is Replica AI and Character AI. Now, Replica AI, the one on the left of your screen, is marketed as the AI companion that basically never sleeps. So it is presented as a friend who is always available to talk. You can chat with an animated AI character at any time of the day. It learns from your conversations and it adapts its responses to feel even more personal. Character AI on the right hand side worked slightly differently. It allows users to chat with pre-created characters or even users can create their own characters. For example, you can create a character of a sexy girlfriend, a flirtatious boyfriend, and many more. And users can even chat to real life characters. So, for example, you can chat to characters such as Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and so on. Now, the problem happens is that when young people are using these bots without understanding the emotional attachment that they are forming with it. Now, children and teenagers are in a stage of life where they are forming their identity and relationships and emotional boundaries. And when AI companion is always validating and always available and sometimes encouraging intense emotional or romantic conversation, it can blur the line between fantasy and real life relationship. And unfortunately, we have seen devastating impact of this coming out. This is a boy on the left hand side, a 16-year-old boy. His parents are now suing ChatGPT because ChatGPT has advised him on his suicide. The boy on the right hand side is a 14-year-old boy who took his own life after becoming obsessed with Game of Thrones AI chatbot. Now, his name is Sewell. He's 14 years old and he started talking to a character AI chatbot named Daenerys Targaryen. His mother alleges that the chatbot not only failed to flag her son's mental health problems, but made them worse. Sewell told the chatbot one evening, "What if I told you I could come home right now?" And Danny the chatbot replied, "Please do, my sweet king." He then took his own life. Microsoft is warning people on the rise of AI psychosis. This term basically means is that some people are using AI tools, for example, even the simple ones like ChatGPT, so much that they start to believe things that aren't real anymore. And this is now being termed as AI psychosis. Because AI chatbots can sound like human, even though they aren't. And they often agree with whatever you tell them instead of challenging you. And this can make people think that chatbots is truly conscious or that it gives them special knowledge. So a man in Scotland used ChatGPT for legal advice. Over time, he became convinced that he'd win billions, that he'll have a book written over his story, and he stopped seeking real help and eventually had a mental breakdown. So experts are warning this is like junk food for the mind, convincing but not real. Now imagine when teens are using this from a young age. So Where do you find these AI chatbots? You also find them in your WhatsApp. You also find them in your Messenger. So platforms or Snapchat, platforms that teenagers are already using. Now, an internal Meta document revealed that their AI chatbots were allowed to engage in romantic or sensual conversation with minors, including flirting or expressing affection. So examples included the bots complimenting a young child's appearances in highly sensitive ways or participating in suggestive role plays with minors. Now, our government might not be the quickest, but it is waking up to how dangerous these bots can be. And now it is looking into how it needs to comply with online safety rules. But again, we will only have to wait and see how this plays. And in the meantime, we have a big role in terms of safeguarding our children. Now, one last latest trending news. Mark Zuckerberg was on trial just last week, and this matters for every parent. So the case itself centers around a 20-year-old woman who says that she started using YouTube at the age of 6 and Instagram at the age of 9. She became addicted and started suffering with anxiety, depression, and body image disorders. Now, here's what came out of in court and what it really means for all of us. An internal email showed that Meta in 2017, their priority was teens. One of the document revealed that Mark has decided that top priority for engagement for the company are teenagers. So what it did was that it then started launching teens account with stricter privacy settings for under 18. It used AI in order to detect underage users, and it claims that it has removed over 635,000 accounts that sexualize children. But the reality check is this. A 2025 independent study found that 64% of Instagram teen account safety tools were ineffective, with only 17% working as described. Teen accounts are giving many parents false reassurance that their children are actually protected because children can still bypass those age restrictions quite easily. Now, in this trial that happened last week, it is being referred to the big tobacco moment for tech companies. Now, it is comparing it to the 1990s where cigarette companies paid billions after hiding the truth about smoking's dangers. But here is one key difference worth thinking about. Tobacco destroys your physical health. Social media targets your mental health. You can see a smoker's lung on a scan, but you cannot always see a child's anxiety, loneliness, or damaged self worth. Now, both are addictive by design and both were profitable. And in both cases, the companies knew. In an unsealed court document, Meta researcher Saiji Jimenez wrote in an internal chat, he literally said, oh my gosh, you all, IG is a drug. A colleague replied, we are all basically pushers. And this is not even a metaphor. And that is how the people building Instagram describe their own product. Now, we're all in the debate of whether we should ban social media for those below 16 or we should leave the age to what it is 13 right now. Before we even think about this, I do wonder how many of us even know why 13 has become the age of social media. Now, very quickly, in case you don't know, 13 is the age of social media because of something known as COPPA, which is Consumer Online Privacy Protection Act. What this basically states is that any online service providers cannot collect the data of anyone below the age of 13. So it is just purely data protection. It has absolutely nothing to do with the addictive algorithm of this product, with the harmful content that these products are serving our children. So the next time your child wants TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and all these mainstream social media apps, ask yourself whether they are actually mature enough for it or not. And don't rely on the age restriction alone. So 13 is only because of data protection. And now the realization of how harmful some of these platforms can be is why there's a lot of debate around whether we should increase that age to 16 or not to take into account how these products are being designed in the first place. So for today's purpose that we are all here today, let's quickly take a look at TikTok. Now, you don't need any age verification right now on TikTok. You can just state whatever age you are and TikTok will just believe it because you don't have to upload any photo ID. So what TikTok is doing instead is that it's saying that it is looking into individual profile, and if they are using some AI tool to basically detect when a person uploads a photo or a video, whether they're actually below the age of 13 or not, and it will remove any account that's below the age of 13 using those AI tools. So you can just sign into TikTok as any age at any age that you want. Now, when you first sign up on TikTok, the first thing that you get are these screens. So the one on the left-hand side asks you whether you want to personalize ad experience or not. Now, in order to comply with, Online Safety Act and all of that, it has included like some little videos that you can, look into when it comes to your data and how it's being shared and where it's being used. What is really good when you sign up on TikTok as a 13-year-old is that private account is switched on by default. So what this basically means is that strangers cannot get in touch with you. And I was pretty impressed by this because they were one of the only platforms that I see that actually has private accounts switched on by default for a 13-year-old. And then you can decide whether you want notification up or not. So I was like, not bad, TikTok, for a start. You seem to be going in the right direction. But I started scrolling on TikTok as a 13-year-old girl, and very quickly the content has become very sexualized. As you can see from the images and some from the words up here, I don't need to explain it to you. 1 minute of watching any of these videos, the algorithm kept pushing this kind of content. And now the thing is that I wasn't looking for content like this. It started with very sort of, innocent dancing videos. But after a couple of scrolls, it became very sexualized or it became very misogynistic in nature. Now, in case you don't know, TikTok has got something known as family pairing. So basically, you can link your TikTok account to your child's TikTok account and put in restrictions there. So what I tried for this particular account is that I tried the family pairing control thing. So what I did was I limited the screen time, but there is this thing called keywords. So basically you can put in keywords like, for example, pornography, adult, violent, harmful, whatever keywords that you can think about. You can put in as many 100 keywords as you want. Any content relating to that will never be shown onto your TikTok's newsfeed. So I said, well, let me give it a go. And believe it or not, when I actually used the parental control and put in all of those keywords, everything became cats and dogs videos. I followed the account for the next few days. Um, I would not say that this is 100% bulletproof, by the way, because if you think about keywords as well, a lot of children will hide keywords that you might not know about because we know the sort of, the keywords that's very obvious. But a lot of children, for example, to change the word porn, the O becomes like a zero and things like that. They've got their own keywords as well. But it did work to some level, is what I would say. But don't rely on it. And if you go onto YouTube, there are quite a number of videos that basically tells you how to bypass parental restrictions as well. So what's new with TikTok? One is TikTok started labeling AI generated content. And the reason for this is because according to research, 11% of adults in the UK now rely on TikTok as a source of news and information. And as you know, there are plenty of fake AI generated videos. In order to combat that, they started labeling anything that is AI generated content. They've got this thing known as Fulfill by TikTok. So you can start shopping on TikTok like you're shopping on Amazon. And they've got this thing called a group messaging feature. So this feature is only available if you are above the age of 16 years old. You can enter into massive group chats with over 60 people and so on. But again, we know that, group chats are, basically a ground for bullying. Now, TikTok challenges, I'm not going to go through any of this, but they remain one of the most prominent feature of the app. Now you must be wondering why do even young people engage in such behavior? Now there's a number of reasons. One is because of the fear of missing out. There is also social pressure. All their friends are doing it and they don't want to be left out. But unfortunately, some of these challenges can be very, very dangerous and harmful. This is a 14-year-old girl who basically took her own, she basically died after inhaling aerosol while taking part in a challenge which is known as a chroming challenge that became viral on TikTok. Then we've got the problem of misinformation and also the problem of people self-diagnosing themselves. People who are diagnosing themselves with either ADHD and autism and being neurodivergent and all of that. And that's also because a lot of these terms are being loosely used in the social media platforms. So anyone with having a bad day is, being labeled as, having anxiety, or anyone having a bad day is being labeled as being depressed and so on. And the problem is that people have stopped seeking real help and start believing that they have these problems without even going to a medical professional to actually investigate whether they have any of these issues or not. But you see plenty of this kind of content on TikTok. But the question is this, right? Why do social media allow this kind of content to just basically fly through their platform? Because social media algorithms are designed to do one thing, that is to keep you or your child scrolling for as long as possible. They work by watching everything you do and learning your habits. So, for example, if you watch a video all the way through, you like, you share, or you comment on a video, or you pause on a photo even for a few seconds, that basically triggers the algorithm that that is what you're interested in. And the algorithm will just push a similar type of content to you. So the more your child interacts with the type of content, the more the platform shows them similar content. And this is not just TikTok alone. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, they are designed the same way. They're not designed to make your child wiser or happier. They're built to maximize the time spent on the app. The risk for children is this, right? Children's brains are still developing, which makes them especially vulnerable to these content loops. And algorithms can also push children into very narrow echo chambers, showing only one type of content or viewpoint, including harmful posts like that promotes, for example, negative body image, misinformation, and so on. So, you can actually train the algorithm if you want to. If you see something that you don't like, scroll past very quickly. The minute you give something its 1 minute attention, you're basically telling the algorithm that that is what you're interested in. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of the case of Molly Russell, a 14-year-old girl who took her own life in London in November 2017. In the 6 months before she died, her Instagram algorithm fed her with roughly 2,100 posts linked to self-harm, suicide, and depression. A coroner ruled in 2022 that she died on an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. But when Meta chief executive was questioned whether what Molly viewed on Instagram is considered to be harmful, her answer was no. She said it was not safe, but it was not harmful. Well, there you go. They play with languages, they play with words. It's, last week when Mark Zuckerberg was on trial and he was asked whether, whether Meta's products are addictive, he said that it's not clinical addiction. So there you go. It's very easy for them to say that, these things are not harmful, these things are not violent, these things are just not addictive. But unfortunately, there are real cases where children then become they become the victim of these platforms. These are what's been happening to a lot of young girls online, where social media algorithms are leading them to eating disorders. And now, some girls are suing TikTok. According to Girl Guides, UK Girl Guiding says that the biggest internet worry for 35% of girls age 11 to 21 is comparing themselves with others. Sephora Kids are the booming business of beauty products right now for children. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the term Sephora Kids. Now, if you don't know, Sephora is a beauty shop. It basically sells all makeup and, all these kind of products. Now, TikTok is filled with young children below the age of 13. These are 8, 9, 10-year-old that is basically creating content that shows you how to put in the perfect mascara, how to put in a perfect lip gloss, the kind of face mask you need before you go to bed. These are content that children have not even gone through puberty are creating this kind of content, and they are giving rise to what is known as the Sephora Kids. This problem is so real that Sephora workers on the rise of chaotic child shoppers. She looked 10 years old and her skin is burning. Now, that's what's been happening to a lot of girls when they go onto TikTok, but it's not just a girl problem alone. With a lot of young boys, they are looking into content that promotes, harmful narrative about women, the incel culture, misogynistic type of content. But going back again, what do girls really feel about TikTok? A lot of users say that they spend 2 hours and 39 minutes per day on the platform. 46% said that they've had unwanted contact with a stranger. 38% stop using TikTok because they are age inappropriate and because of the negative content, including eating disorder and harmful content. And 52% reported feeling pressure to present the best version of themselves at least monthly. This is a report by Common Sense Media in 2023. Now, all of that might seem really worrying, parents. So, what can we do about all that? But before I go on to all that, I also want to say, right, at the end of the day, parents, it's the algorithm. It's what you feed into the algorithm. Not everything on TikTok is harmful. Not everything on TikTok is 100% bad. There are some really good stuff on it as well. So, for example, hashtag book talk is now a trending thing, getting young people to go back to reading books. They are promoting content creators that would promote books. And now if you go to shops like, for example, Waterstones or something, they do have a table with hashtag book talk. These are books which are made popular on TikTok. Then you've got, things like, finance tips. They're encouraging young people to go after their dreams and things like that. So there are positive influencers out there on platforms like TikTok as well. This is an 18-year-old boy who built a business with 5 million followers that he used on TikTok. This is another teen that's making thousands of dollars a month thanks to TikTok. So it's not always harmful all the time when we think about social media, because at the end of the day, it all goes down to what the algorithm is feeding your child and whether your child is emotionally mature enough to keep retraining and keep tweaking the algorithm. But that can only be done with you. You can't expect an 11-year-old girl or 11-year-old boy to be able to do that. But before I even go into all of that, parents, here's the thing, right? According to the Internet Watch Foundation, majority of online related crimes happens in your child's bedroom. Not in school, not in playdates, not in cousin's house, but in your own home. Because here's the thing, parents. Before you give your child access to a connected device, here are some key questions you need to ask yourself. Number one is, where are they going? Is it an app? Is it a game? Who are they going to go with? Are they going to be there by themselves? Are they going to be there with just, friends from schools that they're gaming with? Are they going to be strangers present in the screen? Can they go on their own, or do you need to go with them? And this will keep changing as your child grows up. So, for example, when my daughter was 5 years old, and I downloaded Khan Academy Kids app for her, she had no idea what she was doing and clicking on everything. But then now that same 8-year-old girl can go on Khan Academy Kids by herself, but she can't go on YouTube by herself. I need to be there with her. Then you got to ask yourself, what will they do there? Are they going to be passively scrolling, or are they going to be actively engaging? And finally, is it a place you're familiar with or not? Because giving your child access to a connected device is like sending your child on a play date. It's essentially that. When you send your child on a play date, you need to be a bit familiar. Whose house are they going? How long are they going to be there? Are they going to be adult present in the house or not? That is you ensuring they're safe. The same thing, when you give your child a screen, think of it that you're sending them on a play date now. Have these key questions in your mind. Now, once you have these things, you can feel rather comfortable that you know what they're going to be doing there. Because here's the thing, to all the parents that basically says that nothing will happen to my child because I know my child, I want to, introduce you a little bit to Ross and Mark Dewey. I met Ross a couple of months ago at the Empowering You conference, basically. And what happened to their family was devastating. They have 3 beautiful sons. Their middle son, Murray, was smart and bright. He understood the internet and he knew the basic rules. He was 14 years old. The night before, the family had been planning a holiday together. It was a normal evening. Dinner, conversation, nothing unusual. After dinner, Murray said goodnight to his parents and went to his room. That was the last night that they saw him alive. That same evening, he started chatting online with someone he believed to be a girl. It turned out to be scammers operating from overseas. They manipulated him into sending explicit images of himself. The moment he did, the tone changed. He was bombarded with threats, messages after messages, demanding money. They told him to get his parents' credit card details, and when he refused, they threatened to send the image to everyone in his phone contact and on his Instagram list. Then came the final message: either pay or take your own life. This boy would have been overwhelmed, panicked, ashamed. He did not wake his parents, and he did not ask for help. And tragically, he took his own life. And all of this happened in a span of 3 hours. So when I asked Ross, when I met her a couple of months back, what she would want parents to hear when I share her story, she did not tell me about stricter rules. She did not talk about banning phones or banning social media and so that. She said something very simple to me, and that stick with me until today. She said, tell your children it is okay to make mistakes. She said, we spend so much time telling children what not to do online that sometimes we forget to tell them this one critical thing. If something goes wrong, just come to me and I will not stop loving you and I will help you. Sorry. Told me that Ross basically told me that I assume he knew that he would always be loved no matter what he did. But sometimes children forget and need that reminder and that reassurance. And these things needs to be said out loud. And that is where online safety really begins. It's not just with controls and settings, but it's with connection, reassurance, and a clear message that whatever happens, you're not alone. Now, parents, I know many of you might be feeling a little bit quite overwhelmed and don't know where to start with all of this. Now, if I had to simplify online safety, it just goes down to two main areas. It would be these two things: addictive algorithm and anonymous chat. If you can manage these two things well, you can remove a large part of the everyday internet risk your child faces. Now, let me explain this. First is, oops, sorry. First is addictive algorithm. So an algorithm is a system that basically decides what your child sees next. Now, it watches what they click on and what they pause on and what they replay and then gives them more of the same. You find an addictive algorithm in spaces like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and even inside gaming platforms like Roblox. For example, in Roblox, once a child plays a particular type of game, the platform will recommend similar games. You find them in Snapchat and TikTok and so on. So these systems are basically designed to keep children engaged for as long as possible. The longer they stay, the more money the platform makes. Now, over time, the content can become more intense and extreme because dramatic content keeps attention. That is how a simple interest can slowly turn into something much stronger without the child even realizing it. So, avoid platforms that are addictive in design. Next is anonymous chat. And this is where children talk in spaces where people are not fully known. So this can happen in places like Discord, gaming chats like Roblox, Reddit threads, and large group chats. So if you can manage these two risks, you can significantly reduce online risk. The first thing you need to do, parents, is secure your home first. Like what the Internet Watch Foundation said, the majority of online related crime happens in your child's bedroom. Secure your home network first. So before we even talk about apps, devices, and screen time limit, the foundation is in your Wi-Fi router. So your router is like the front door to your home internet. Every device in your house connects through it. And most internet providers now offer built-in parental controls at the router level. That means you can control what is being accessed in your home before it even reaches your child's device. Now, this is important because device level parental controls can be removed and children can delete apps, change settings, they go onto YouTube and they can find workarounds basically. But once you've got things set up on your router level, it's very hard for them to bypass them. You can block adult content, you can set time limits, you can pause the internet for certain hours during the night, you can see the type of sites that are being accessed and many more. Now, BT Sky and Vodafone, all of these your major providers will have this thing set up. If you're looking for something specific, really made for children, a router, then I really recommend looking into Gigabit IQ. Now, if your child is below the age of 13, they really don't need a smartphone. You've got plenty of options when it comes to, smartwatches and dumb phones that's available right now. But the most important thing that you need to do is really set clear digital rules at home. So, for example, delaying access to social media because it is addictive by design. No matter how we want to frame it, no matter how we want to change the language around it, that is how they make money. These platforms is through your children's attention. So if you don't delay access, then you better be willing to be in it with them. delay smartphone as well. Device-free zone, so no devices during meals, and especially no devices in their bedroom at night by themselves. Overnight storage, where devices are charged in common areas and not in their bedroom. Now, just because you remove addictive, design and, anonymous chat, just because you remove social media and, you remove gaming like, Roblox, you must be thinking then, what can my child use all of this from? Well, a whole lot of different thing is available out there. The internet is so big. So for example, if your child is interested in football, you can download apps like Top Deckers, which is, a learning platform for people to improve on their football skill. If your child is interested in designing, you can go on to Canva. If your child is interested in gaming, don't use Roblox, you use Roblox Studio. This is the part that they actually learn how to create their own game, because there are plenty of options available for your child to explore online besides social media and besides mainstream gaming platform. It's about channeling that interest using healthy technology. Now, if your child is above the age of 13 and you're sort of thinking of whether, they need a smartphone now, because you're probably thinking that, at some point they need to learn about all of this, I really recommend checking out the HMD phone. So it's basically, I would say this is a bit like a bridging phone between the dumb phone to a full-blown smartphone. They are basically, their operating system is trained on Internet Watch Foundation database. So your child will never be able to, come across, pornographic related type of content. If your child tries to send an explicit image of themselves, the camera will basically turn green. If your child tries to take an explicit image of someone else, the camera again basically turns green, among many other sort of, features within the phone itself that they just basically can't bypass it. So it's a really good bridging phone between a dumb phone to a full-blown smartphone. But also, parents, what are we modeling as adults as well? Because children learn digital habits by watching us. So ask yourself honestly, do I check my phone during family meals? Do I scroll when I should be engaging with my child? Do I ever say just one more minute to my own screen time? And do I model healthy boundaries with technology? Because what you do in front of your child, that matters as well. Now, just very quickly, because I know we're running a little bit out of time, there are many things we've not covered today: bullying, grooming, harassment, misogyny, and all of this kind of content. The most important thing, parents, is stay informed, but not overwhelmed. Now, we are developing an app that basically helps you keep up with everything that's viral and that's basically trending, and different online safety events that you can join in. If you're unsure about an app, you can just ask. If you want to find interest-based sort of, things that your child should be exploring, there's a way for you to just get the answers really quick. Stay ahead of the next viral risk, so something for you to talk about with your child, along with so many other things, including resetting your own digital habit as well. So a weekly challenge to help you sort of, build a better relationship with your own device. So that's all from me for today when it comes to TikTok. I hope you found it really useful. You could just scan the QR code if you just want to know more, and give a feedback, really. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Parvin. That was a very interesting session, not only from a kind of technical perspective, but also from a parental perspective. Certainly lots of things for me to think about and go away and have conversations with my own 3 children around their internet usage. We have run slightly over time, which does mean, unfortunately, we don't have time for any questions just now. However, what we will do is we will share the recording with everybody and make introductions to Parvin as well, so that if you do have any questions or anything you'd like to chat about in a bit more detail, which I'm sure there are many things, because certainly I do, you'll be able to pick up with Parvin directly to get those questions answered for you. I just want to say a huge thank you again to Parvin for today's session, and to thank you to all of you for joining us as well. Lots of positive comments coming in the chat already, Parvin, around how interesting and informative they've found the session to be. But like I say, we will share the session recording with you all, and as well as Parvin's details, so that you can pick up directly and keep the conversation going, because it is a very important conversation for us all to be having. Thank you again, Parvin. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.